Thank you. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 60 of the Game Room Podcast. I'm your host, Rome, alongside Dev. Dev, how are you doing?
Hey, what's up? I'm doing good.
We're here on an Easter Sunday.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter to those that celebrate. Real slow news week. Luckily Phil Spencer did an interview this week. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a lot to talk about in and of itself. But we're going to dive into the headlines in a little bit. But first, we're going to do our topic of the show, which is our favorite Easter eggs in video games. I don't know how many times we're going to do a show on Easter Sunday, so it made sense.
It fit.
It really fits. So we both came up with, I believe, 11, right?
Yeah, 11, 12 each.
Okay. Yeah, I have 11. Oh, wait, no, I do have 12. That's right. All right, let's get right into it. Do you want to give... Now, for me, this is in no particular order.
Yeah, same. This is in no order.
Okay. Who do you want to go first for your B-roll? What's easier for you? You going first?
You can go first.
Okay. So my number one on my list, and even if this was in a particular order, this would probably be pretty high up on there. Mm-hmm. It's the beating heart in Grand Theft Auto 4. So if you go to the Statue of Liberty, I forget what it's called. I think it's called the Statue of Happiness in GTA 4. I forget exactly. But if you go to the statue and you get on a helicopter, you fly up and you kind of jump off the helicopter and you land on like one of the ledges. You can actually go inside the statue. You climb up a ladder and you find this beating heart. It's chained up there. It's moving. You can shoot it and there's blood. I always just thought this was just one of the coolest, most interesting Easter eggs. Like, it's such a cool idea.
Yeah.
From Rockstar. Rockstar is not the last time we're going to mention them on this list. They've always been just the best with these.
As a kid, this one scared me. I don't know why. Just like as a kid, it's just like this thing has a beating heart inside of it. Like,
did it make you think about like the actual Statue of Liberty? Like, oh god, is there a real heart in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy Easter egg, and it's just. I think one of the special things about this Easter egg too is that obviously GTA 4 had online, and you can do a free roam in Liberty City, and like just being like, hey, like showing your friends, and they have no idea what you're about to show them. Like I remember there was like so many people I'd be like, hey, like I gotta show you this, and I wouldn't tell them what it is. Like we go through all this work, we would miss the jump a few times, and we'd just be like, all right, we gotta go. Like just get out of the helicopter, and they'd go inside and be like, what the hell? What is this? What's going on? Just so really cool about that. So what's your number one?
I don't even know if I want to call it just number one. It's just the first one.
The first one on the list, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It is something that I had never experienced myself, but hearing about it, it seems like a really cool Easter egg that would have probably freaked me out as a kid. And it's the Psycho Mantis reading your memory card.
Yeah, that's one of the coolest like Kojima moments / Easter eggs ever. It's just so cool. Like it mentions Castlevania.
Yeah.
It mentions Wind Waker if you're playing the GameCube version. Like it's a really cool Easter egg.
And then I think if you're actually playing another Capcom game, he asks you more questions about that game specifically. So like that's really cool.
Yeah, it would imagine playing and not knowing that it's coming.
Yeah, no, yeah, that was
like,
freaking me
you
out.
play Castlevania, huh? You little kid.
Yeah.
You like Wind Waker? All right. Like no, that's always just so cool. I also appreciate, it's not really an Easter egg, but like how in certain parts of that game, like you have to plug the controller into the second controller spot or port and not the first one. Mm-hmm. Just some real cool stuff out of that. Next up on my list, which admittedly I do have a few Zelda ones on my list, but this one I really enjoyed, and I remembered it playing the remake of Super Mario RPG this past year. And this is if you go into the inns in Super Mario RPG, you can find Link and Samus asleep in beds in the world. So like you're playing this Mario RPG and you go in and there's just Link just sleeping there in a
taking a
bed.
nap, yeah.
Yeah, and then Samus as well, from Metroid. So that's something that I always really loved as well. What's next up on your list?
Next up, I have. Oh, this is one we both had on our list, so I guess we can share. This is being able to see other characters in Ocarina of Time if you look through the window.
Yes, so we both came up with this on our list. I let you put it on your list so that way we could have the same numbers. But you didn't know about half of this. So yes, on the one side, you can look through the windows and you can see Bowser and Mario and Peach and Luigi, and I think Yoshi's in there too.
Yeah.
Now, if you go to the other window across from the courtyard, you can actually, if you like shoot like a slingshot at the window,
Oh, I did know about this.
the guard will like say, "Hey, settle down. What are you doing?"
Yeah.
And throw a bomb at you. And I always thought that was just a really cool little.
Can you see Ganon at one point?
Well, Ganon's in the main story. Like if you start the cutscene, you can see Ganon walking through the front window.
Okay.
That's just the story. But yeah, those two little things are just really cool little Easter eggs in Ocarina of Time.
Mm-hmm.
And that, Ocarina of Time, obviously, they have Mario and Luigi basically there as the Lon Lon Ranch farmhands, Talon and Ingo. And then they also have a Bowser brooch, including Malon. They have a little brooch from on their clothing, which is always something I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
Next up for me, I have, again, Grand Theft Auto, and this time San Andreas. And it is at the top of the Ganton Bridge, which is supposed to be the Golden Gate Bridge. You go up there, and at the very top, there is a sign that says, "There are no Easter eggs here. Go away." Which in and of itself is a really cool Easter egg. And I also, again, Grand Theft Auto and Rockstar, like just the best when it comes to Easter eggs. Like San Andreas, like part of my childhood is just looking up Easter eggs for San Andreas, looking up mysteries in San Andreas. Like there's so many weird things that happen in that world that like people made like a whole series about it, where it's like unsolved mysteries of San Andreas, and it's just like it's a really cool Easter egg, and it's a simple one, but it's like one of my favorites of all time.
Yeah.
What's up next for you?
Up next for me is an Easter egg from The Witcher 2, which is another game I haven't experienced, but I played Assassin's Creed a lot. That's just the game that we play a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And there is an Easter egg of Altair dead. And I think the line he says is "they never learn" or something like that.
Yeah, it's a really cool Easter egg that appears in Witcher 2.
Yeah, Witcher 2.
Where you find this stack of hay. Obviously, it's reference to the Assassin's Creed franchise, where the assassins, they will leap off tall structures and tall vantage points.
Mm-hmm.
And in The Witcher 2, I guess this assassin, he missed a little bit.
Yeah.
I think Game Theory also kind of disproved this. I think years back, where it was like, no, you will actually die making this leap.
Oh, jumping off a building.
Yeah, the hay will not save you.
Yeah, it doesn't cushion as well as you probably think it does.
No, not at all. And The Witcher obviously pokes fun at that.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that one. Next up for me, another one from Zelda. Obviously, I have a lot of Zelda ones. This is from The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, and this is the Chris Houlihan room. Now, I always thought that this was just one of the coolest things. So back in 1990, Nintendo Power did a contest, and they said, "Hey, enter this contest, and if you win, your name will make it into the next Zelda game." And so, Chris Houlihan won the contest, and his name was put into the game. Now, for years, people could not find the Chris Houlihan room.
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, they couldn't find this. This went years. We're talking like long time without being discovered. However, based off of how you move in the game, if you fall down a certain hole and do a certain, few things, in a timely manner, you'll fall down the hole. I believe it's the hole near Hyrule Castle. And you will fall into the Chris Houlihan room. So basically, when you get in the room, a telepathic message will appear and say, "Hi, I'm Chris Houlihan. This is my secret room. Don't tell anybody." And in there is like a bunch of rupees. And I just think that it's really cool that this kid got his name immortalized
Yeah, in a
Zelda game.
Yeah.
One of the greatest Zelda games, mind you, at that. It's actually a pretty funny story because no one has ever been able to track down Chris Houlihan though. So like people like have speculated like did he die? Like was he even a real person to begin with? Because like usually that's something like you would be like, oh, I'm in a Zelda game, and you would kind of ride that fame.
Absolutely, yeah.
This guy never came forward. No one's heard of him. Like he has zero presence online, zero internet. He's probably like some doctor who stopped playing video games, and he has no idea that it's this big thing where, like, he's probably like, "Oh, cool, I won," and then like that was it. And then he grew up and lived his life, and like we're sitting here 30 something years later, being like, "Man, what happened to him? What a legend!" All right, what's up next for you?
I would actually love to like see a deep dive of them finding that guy.
Yeah, someone needs to find it. Like we need someone out there, the game theorists or someone's got to get on it.
Yeah. Okay, so up next for me is a game Easter egg from Hitman 3. And I believe also Hitman 2, but I'm just going to say Hitman 3 where they find Potato Jesus.
Potato Jesus.
If you don't know what Potato Jesus is, it was a painting of Jesus in a church that needed restoration. So they hired someone and they ruined the painting even worse. And that ruined painting became even more famous than the others because it was just like, it looks really bad. And it's called Potato Jesus. So in the spirit of Easter, I think that's a really cool Easter egg.
That's really perfectly timed with the theme. That's awesome. Next up for me is one that was so well hidden that the developers felt the need to share this one. So I'm talking, of course, about Batman.
Oh yeah.
Arkham Asylum, Arkham City being teased in that game. So basically, if you go into Warden Sharp's office, you can find a room, a secret room that basically sets up the premise for Arkham City, including a map. I think there's an audio file in there. It's been a few years since I went through to do this, but yeah, it's so cool, and it was something that they wanted players to discover naturally to speculate a sequel, but no one found it. So when they started working on the sequel, they were like, cough, cough, hey, this is out there. And I think they even told people, like, we're not going to tell you how to find it, but there is an Easter egg in the game that hints our next project.
Yeah, it took...
and then, like, they couldn't find it, and then they were like, fine, here's where it is. Go find it.
They announced it 6 months after, I remember.
Yeah.
They waited 6 months for people to find it, and, like, no one found it.
Crazy stuff.
A really cool Easter egg. I don't think I ever found it in my original playthrough. I think by 6 months later, I wasn't even playing the game anymore. I didn't think it was a need to go back, but I watched videos and was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so that was always really awesome. It's funny because the best Easter eggs are the ones that go forever without being found, I feel like.
Yeah, those are the best ones.
Just so well hidden. What's next for you?
Let me see. I'm just playing the video. I want to blow up the wall.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. Yeah, it's really cool. You go in there, you find all this stuff, and it's just, yeah, it's great. It's a shame that the Rocksteady doesn't make games like this anymore.
Yeah.
I didn't even include it in the headlines, but apparently season 1 of Justice League not going well. People are very disappointed in that, which honestly, I'm not surprised.
Oh, Kill the Justice League?
Yeah, Kill the Justice League. Yeah. Season 1's out. Apparently, like, getting the Joker is really underwhelming, and there's not a lot going on. So that really sucks. Yeah, I mean, I'll buy it when it's $10 just to watch all the cutscenes. Anyways,
up next for me is a Easter egg in The Last of Us Part 1, where they put the office from the show The Office in there. I think that's really cool. You go in there and you just see the desk set up as you would in the office. People who watch the show, I guess you probably get a feeling you're watching it like, this looks really familiar. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, definitely. Next up for me, Fallout New Vegas. Obviously, we're big Indiana Jones fans. I love the movies, and I showed you the movies this past year. Mm-hmm. In Fallout New Vegas, you can come across a fridge. And obviously, Fallout New Vegas is a post-apocalyptic, post-nuclear war game. So you go to this fridge, and you open it up, and you can find a skull with a very familiar-looking hat.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly in reference to Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, where Indy. Some people hate this scene. Some people love this scene. But Indiana Jones survives a nuclear bomb by hiding inside of an aluminum fridge. Look, man, like I don't care. Like, yes, it's a jump the shark kind of moment, but I mean, like, there's aliens in this franchise. There's like the Ark of the Covenant in this franchise. Like, I'm sorry, but like, are we really gonna get upset about Indiana Jones like being a little unrealistic? Like that's always kind of been weird to me, right? Like that's a weird take, right? To draw the line at Indiana Jones surviving a nuclear explosion by hiding inside of a fridge.
It is ridiculous, but like you're
like
saying,
considering the entire franchise, like go back and watch like even the original trilogy. Take the bad one, like not even a bad movie because I didn't think it was that bad, but take the one that the movie that people didn't like out of it, and like that original trilogy is filled with a bunch of stuff that's kind of ridiculous. Like the voodoo stuff in Temple of Doom, and just there's a lot going on in those movies, so it's kind of crazy that people get upset about it. But it's a really cool Easter egg. What's up next for you?
Up next for me is a game that I really love, Control.
Mm-hmm.
And in Control, there is a lot of Easter eggs leading to Alan Wake.
I was gonna say, is it the Alan Wake stuff?
Yeah, and I love the Alan Wake stuff. They kind of hint that everything that happened in Alan Wake was an altered world event or something like that. I think that's what they call them.
AOE,
Yeah. And so that was cool. And I think also in one of the notes you read, the Twilight Zone show that they have.
Yeah, the Bright Falls.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They rebooted the series because they needed people to be exposed to those items. So I thought that was just really cool. A lot of really cool secret stuff in it.
Yeah. Still want to play Alan Wake 2. It's still on my list. It's on my Xbox wish list. But next up for me, real throwback, Assassin's Creed 2. So in Assassin's Creed 2, as you're progressing through the story, Ezio, he has to flee to his uncle's villa, and once he arrives, he is ambushed by a group of soldiers who are hunting him, and his uncle and his men come out and save him.
I remember this.
And Ezio, who does not have memory of his uncle, is like, "Uncle, who are you?" And he's like, "You don't recognize your uncle? It's me, Mario."
Yeah.
And the smile on my face, like playing, Assassin's Creed 2 the first time as a kid, the smile on my face when he does the "It's a me, Mario" thing. I don't even know if it is an Easter egg because it's kind of right there in your face. Maybe it's just a reference, but I always consider it an Easter egg, and I think it's just one of the funniest little, cutest things I've ever seen in it. Forrest says he likes the one where they put dead bodies in white hoodies at the end of these huge drops. I'm not sure which game he's talking about.
Probably Assassin's Creed.
Maybe Assassin's Creed. Maybe. Anyways. What's your next one?
My next one is also an Assassin's Creed one.
Oh.
It is
yeah.
Let me see if I can pull it up really quick.
Assassin's Creed, folks. Great franchise.
So in Assassin's Creed, you can go up to any Turkey. In Assassin's Creed 3.
Assassin's Creed 3.
If you go up to any Turkey and use the Konami code, that turkey will then get a Assassin's hoodie on it. I don't think it'll do anything else.
No, it doesn't do anything. It just becomes a little turkey assassin.
It doesn't do anything else, but yeah, you have a little assassin turkey.
You can feed him.
Yeah, you feed him and then you do the code. Up, down. Wait, was it up, down?
Left, right, A, B, start, I think.
Yeah. And now if you see it, he has a little hood on.
A little turkey assassin. Love it. Absolutely love it. It's the little things,
Yeah.
Next up for me. Now this is kind of, so here's the thing. In all fairness, I have not played a lot of Final Fantasy games. I've literally played and I'm planning on changing that hopefully soon. But for me, I've played 7, 16, and the 7 remakes.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that in Final Fantasy 7 and 7 Remake, Wedge and Biggs are characters in the games. Now, I've since then found that apparently they make their reoccurring characters in the series.
Okay.
But Wedge and Biggs, clearly a reference to Star Wars. Luke Skywalker's friends and co-pilots, Wedge and Biggs. Now, I've read that this was confirmed by the developers that this is a direct reference to Star Wars. I haven't verified that myself, But there's no way in hell that these two friends, by coincidence, of all names you could give them, like are Wedge and Biggs, and it's not a Star Wars reference.
Yeah.
So I always love that. They're characters that pretty likable in at least in 7 remake. In 7 they're not around for very long. In 7 remake they're around for the original, for the whole first game for the most part. But yeah, man, it's a really cool little love Star Wars Easter eggs and references.
And Forrest, you said that they do that in a lot of games. I only saw, we just talked about the one that happened in The Witcher.
Yeah, Witcher 2.
I don't know about other games, but I would love to see like if that became a thing, just like a pile of hay and then a guy in a white robe next to it.
Yeah,
that'd be kind of funny.
What's your next one?
So my next one comes from Battlefront 2, where they redo an infamous scene from A New Hope, and I'll just play it because it's kind of funny. Well, they give homage to it. And if you look in the background, you'll see a stormtrooper hit his head.
Yeah. Oh man, love that.
Yeah, that's a really cool one.
Yeah, it's a throwback to A New Hope, where obviously, for those that don't know, A New Hope had very limited budget and limited time. Star Wars at that point obviously was not really a thing, so there was very little belief that even the actors making the movie didn't believe that it was going to be anything. So they were not able to like really reshoot a lot of stuff towards the end of the making of the film. And so one thing that made it through was the stormtrooper in the background. He bumps his head. In later releases, they actually, I believe, added the sound.
Oh, really?
Of him bumping. Like I think the VHS 90s release. I don't know if it's in like the 4K Blu-ray release. I don't remember. But like yeah, when they went back and like added stuff in the 90s, they actually add the bump of him hitting his head, because it's like the idea is that stormtroopers are not, like in the movies at least, stormtroopers are not super capable fighters. Like they're just, like the helmets don't do anything. Like that's always joked about as well. But yeah, great reference there. Number 9 for me is one that I really find it crazy that people don't talk more about this one. And it crosses two things that I really love. So in Gears of War 5, you can go through a theater. It's part of the storyline. It's part of the story. And in the theater, there is a musical being played called Embry. Now, if you look at the imagery, amongst other things, it's referencing the musical Hamilton, something that I really loved. So I actually pulled up an IGN article because there were so many references. I kind of wanted to run through them all. So again, it's called Embry. It tells the story of a prominent foundational government figure. Instead of Alexander Hamilton, the Gears 5 musical is about Nassar Embry, member of the Allfathers, founder of the COG, which is Sarah's governing body. The references are in Act 1, Chapter 4, The Tide Turns, including posters sporting the stance, which is very similar to Hamilton. It's well received in the universe. The critics in the game are giving it above average recommended viewing. The player will eventually be able to explore the theater where Embry is being performed. It could be a reference to a real-world location, the Public Theater, where Hamilton was playing before it moved to Broadway. Furthermore, there's a collectible in the theater. Song lyrics contains lyrics to Nassar Embry, That's My Name, which is the opening song from Hamilton, where the opening is Alexander Hamilton, That's My Name. So yeah, it's really cool, the amount of detail that the Gears team put into this theater to get the Hamilton references in.
Yeah.
So I absolutely love it. It's great. What's up next for you?
Up next for me is a pretty well-known one. It's not even that hidden. You can find most of them.
Mm-hmm.
But they're all the Portal and Portal 2 Ratman and Cake stuff that they have behind like, you know, in between cracks in the walls and everything. Ratman is a character who, I don't know if he actually helps you out directly, but he leaves little notes and stuff on walls, and he was obviously...
Yeah, I remember the Ratman stuff.
A crazy person stuck in a torture room or a torture facility.
Yeah.
And so I just thought those were cool. Like,
I
follow
love
them. The cake is a lie you get from him. Yeah. That's a Ratman thing.
I love internal world storytelling in video games, where it's like, if you are just playing Portal and you're just playing the game and you're not paying attention to the world around you, like, you will completely miss the Ratman stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like when you dive a little bit deeper and you look at the things that the game is that the world is trying to show you, to me that's what a beautifully crafted world in video games is. And good Easter eggs I think go hand in hand with that,
Yeah,
with
I
a
think so,
beautifully
too.
crafted world. And yeah, I love the Ratman stuff. Number 10 for me. So in The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, again, another Zelda one. Um, if you look on the back of the Happy Mask Salesman, you can find a Mario mask, and it's just kind of there. Um, Again, just another nod to Mario from the Zelda team. Yeah, it's a real simple one. You can kind of go in there. It's funny because I think when I was like 12, I made like a really crappy YouTube video showing it off.
Oh, that's cool.
It's like I used I own the game, but I used an emulator to record it. Um,
Ooh. You just-
just a sniper bullet comes through.
yeah.
No, I own the game. I own the game. I've always owned the game, obviously. But I used it to record it, and it's so glitchy and choppy because I'm using like a 2006 screen recorder. Like I'll have to see if I can find it and show it to you afterwards. But like it's really funny. Um, but yeah, it's a really cool Easter egg all the same. And what's next for you?
Going back to Batman Arkham City, there is a really cool Easter egg where the Joker is healed. He's not supposed to be healed.
Hmm.
It's actually Clayman playing the Joker. Spoiler alert for those who have not played Arkham City.
Oh man.
Yeah. And he's trying to. Batman's confused. So he's like, well, you want the secrets? You want to know all the details? He's like, what does it mean? Well, does it even matter? Why did it all end in a church? And at the time when he said that, I had just finished binging all of Lost.
Mhm.
And it ends in a church.
It's a Lost reference,
yeah. One of the lead writers for the game actually wrote on Lost. And apparently Mark Hamill's a really huge Lost fan. So that was pretty cool.
Okay.
I think also in Arkham City, you can hear thugs talking about it around when you fly over them. They're just like, why did it end like that? Like everyone's just confused by the show Lost.
Yeah. Number 11. Never been a Lost fan. I think I watched a few episodes and I kind of fell off back then.
Yeah.
Don't people hate the ending?
Yeah, it's
I think that's why I never went back to it because like I think I started it late and everyone just like the ending's terrible.
Yeah.
I was like, oh okay.
It's not, in hindsight, it's not that bad, but during the time it was like, oh man, this sucks. Like,
All right. So number 11 for me is in Call of Duty Ghosts. If you're kind of looking through the open world, you can find a trophy, like on a shelf in Call of Duty Ghosts, and on that trophy it says awarded for most bushes cut and pots smashed. Clearly, a Zelda Easter egg.
yeah, that's pretty cool actually.
I really love it. I really, really love when other games reference Zelda. I think you're gonna try to pull it up here.
Yeah.
Maybe you find it. Yeah, okay, the trophy case. But so yeah, I always love to find the impact that Zelda has made on the games industry.
I didn't add it, and now I'm kind of wishing I did. In the Division 2, you find a bow, and then next to the bow there's a poster, and it says, "When the lake is full, shoot."
Shoot the sun.
Yes, basically shoot the sun.
Yeah, the fire arrows from Ocarina of Time. Yeah, yeah.
That's a really cool one.
I mean, I didn't put it in my list, but South Park: Stick of Truth. Kenny, because it's a fantasy, like they're role playing video game type thing. Kenny is dressed up as Zelda from Twilight Princess, and you can get like an elf costume, which is like basically a Link costume, and you can get the elf sword, which is the Master Sword. Okay. So I always thought that was really cool as well. What's your number 11?
This is my last one as well.
Yeah.
This one is a Borderlands 3, which we talked about before. They're just flooded with so many Easter eggs, so many references from stuff. One of the biggest ones is a Minecraft reference where you fight a creeper in a cave full of rocks that look like Minecraft, and it's just like really cool. And I think you can get a Steve head too from it.
Oh yeah, always remember too that don't they do like a Mario thing where you can like go through the 2D level, like Mario level?
I probably
pretty sure that's a Borderlands one. I'm pretty sure.
If it is, that's great.
Yeah. So you're looking to find some gameplay of it, I think. But yeah, no, I mean Borderlands, like you said, is just filled like to the brim with just Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Um, it's funny because we're gonna talk about Borderlands in a little bit actually on the headlines, but always thought that that was a really cool. It's one thing they do really well is just the amount of Easter eggs you can find in their games.
And I think that's it.
Yeah. All right. So that is our topic with the our favorite Easter eggs in video games. There's obviously so many more. We were setting up the script together for the beginning, and it was just like so many,
Yeah.
so many. But yeah, let's jump into the headlines. Again, relatively slow news week this week, Dev. However, Phil Spencer, he decided that he was going to go and do an interview with Polygon. And so we have quite a bit to talk about from this Polygon interview.
Okay.
So Polygon, I would have appreciated if they kind of just kept this as one big interview, but they split it up, at least from what I found from them. So we're going to kind of break this into three chunks. The first one is Phil Spencer on what the hell is happening in the games industry. Again, this is from Polygon. The math on making a game has definitely changed, said Phil Spencer. Polygon spoke with Spencer during the annual Game Developers Conference, and through the conversation ranged from the possibility of a handheld console to the trouble with closed platforms, and we will talk about those in a little bit. However, one theme was inescapable. Devro, what the hell is going on with the games industry, and how will video game makers and publishers, Xbox included, get out of it? Spencer's view points to a collision of rising budgets, diversifying business models, and the exceptional financial risk now required to meet the audience expectations of a AAA release. He specifically pointed to the astronomical budgets of big budget games, which have created a knot of problems that have been a challenge to disentangle. And for Spencer, the path forward is to abandon assumptions and exclusivity and attract new customers who have cooled on the console experience. But first, for context, Spencer talked about how things used to work when budgeting and greenlighting a video game. The Microsoft executive has been producing games for long enough that he can remember when the financials were relatively straightforward. A publisher could set a sales goal, say 800,000 units, set an earnout goal, how much money they want to make, and set the price of the game, usually $59.99. From there, a game's publisher and or studio could set a budget. However, the financial calculus has changed. In 2024, most games were sold across multiple storefronts, often steeply discounted mere weeks after release, or included as part of subscription services on launch day. Plus, the games themselves take many years to create with the help of hundreds if not thousands of team members, sometimes spread across the world. All of this adds up, and as Spencer says, it can cost $300 million to build a video game. Spencer explained how this cost forces three substantial problems. One for all big budget games, one unique to console exclusives, and one that spans the entire industry. So Dev, these three that Phil Spencer says. Number one, the cost. The cost really reduces the risk that publishers are willing to take. Where previous games needed to sell a few 100,000 units to justify their costs, new games may need to sell many millions of units. If you're a publisher, you know that's a pretty big number in a world that already has a lot of video games coming out, said Spencer. How are you going to establish this thing? Am I willing to take the red on a new IP, on a new kind of game, when the earnout risk is that high? I think it impinges on the creativity of this industry, which I don't love. Creativity is like the cornerstone of what we should be about in gaming. What are your thoughts on Phil? You're talking about the cost and the risk that comes with, are you going to take a loss and start a new IP up? Or like he says that creativity is important and you don't want to stifle it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the budget is important. So what are your thoughts on that?
You just got to balance it. I think that's what they've been trying to do. We know that games are very, very expensive. And the longer they take, the more expensive they are. So he's not wrong.
Yeah. Number two that Phil says is the cost is particularly prohibitive for exclusives that can only reach so many players. As Spencer explained in the conversation with Polygon about the perils of exclusivity and walled garden consoles, these games need to make additional money to justify the console maker subsidizing the cost of the console. As Spencer explained, the case for exclusivity gets pressured as the cost of the game has gone up, as games go up. So basically, Phil's saying here that exclusives used to be how you sell your console, sell your platform, but now games are costing so much money. They have to look at it is, are they making enough money back on these exclusives titles that they're not selling elsewhere, and they're walling themselves off from sales.
I think this is a very Microsoft, or I guess Xbox problem, because they are third place in the race. When they release an exclusive game, it's automatically stifled by what it can be on.
So I'm gonna push back on that a little bit. It is a problem that Xbox is facing.
Yeah.
But as we've seen from PlayStation, it's clearly a problem that they're facing as well.
yeah.
With going day and date, and we've the Insomniac leaks, show how much these games are costing them, how much they're paying for just the Spider-Man IP alone. Which I'm sure Ty's not here at the moment. I'm sure when he listens back, he's gonna love that I mentioned that.
But you also have to remember the whole point of exclusives is to boost up your console, to boost up your ecosystem. Hey, we are the only ones that have this experience, or we're the only ones that have this game. If you look at Nintendo, their games are not on anywhere, and because of that, like, when's the last time you've seen a half-off sale on a Nintendo game?
Never.
Like,
They never go on sale.
Yeah, they never go on sale.
They go up.
And if they don't, they go on sale for what, 10%? Like,
not even. Like they get bundled in with the console.
Yeah,
like not even a discount.
You don't expect to see Nintendo games on any other platform. Most Nintendo games, and they're fine. And I think Sony is also struggles with it more, but I do think as long as you're not, Xbox has it the worst, where yes, they have the PC market where they can push their games, but because their console base is so small, it makes more sense for them to be the first of the three to go.
I think it does make the most sense for Xbox of the three. But again, we've talked about it, and in the business side of the video game industry, there's not growth happening. Like the industry's not growing as far as Xbox and PlayStation are concerned.
Yeah.
Now Nintendo, I don't recall their financials.
They're fine,
but they're doing great.
I imagine.
Remember before the Switch came out, where the headline was they could go 56 years and lose $1 billion in profit every year and still be, before they have to even worry about their financials. They have so much money. Yeah, that was a storyline that was going around before the Wii U came out, where it was just like
they can go 56 years of losing and be okay.
They could go 56 years. I think it's like 1 billion yen or something. Before, like 56 years later, like, okay, we've lost 1 billion yen in profit every year for the last 50 years. We have a problem.
That's insane.
It's something along those lines. It's been a long time since I saw that headline. But yeah, look, I think that the situation Nintendo finds himself in is different than the situation Xbox and PlayStation do. I think that Nintendo has done a great job at becoming like the most recognizable IP in the world. Like, I think people would point out Mario quicker than they would Mickey Mouse, but if not quicker, around the same time. And Pokemon as well. Nintendo, even though they don't, Pokemon's not first party, Nintendo does own 2 of the 3 biggest IPs in the world. So it's like Nintendo just doesn't have to worry about that stuff just because of how they've embedded themselves in pop culture. Now, obviously Gears had, or not Gears, Xbox can have like a Halo that does the same thing, but Halo doesn't have the cultural impact that Mario and Pokemon does. That's just factual.
Yeah.
And PlayStation, same thing. I don't think that PlayStation has anything that rivals that.
Microsoft has room to grow, at least a lot more room to grow than PlayStation does.
In terms of software or period?
In terms of, terms of hardware.
Yeah, period, hardware,
but hardware comes to mind first because there's so few, or a lot fewer Xboxes out there in the world. So compared to PlayStation, they have more room to grow. You know what I mean?
So I'll say this: I don't like the narrative that, and I think Xbox is also kind of. I don't like the narrative that Xbox isn't doing well because.
No, I'm not saying they're not doing well.
No, I know, but they are. Yes, PlayStation is outselling them 2-1, but like, I believe that the number. Someone did the math, and if Xbox says that PlayStation is outselling them 2-1, and PlayStation, I think, said that they've sold like 45 million, something like that, for the PS5, probably more. You do the math, and they're selling 23 million units. That's great. That's not bad.
No, absolutely, but they could definitely, that's a whole other 20 million that they could reach. They could possibly reach. So I just think that I agree that exclusives. I agree that you should. It's harder to make more money on exclusives, even at a Nintendo or PlayStation route. If they released a game on another console, of course that would go crazy.
We've had this discussion in the past where with Xbox and what they're trying to do, where it's like. My big thing with them, with the exclusivity thing, is like, hey, you guys didn't even really try. Yeah. Like, this year is such a big year for them, where it's like, I can't wait for Hellblade. I can't wait for Indiana Jones. I can't wait for Avowed. Like I'm even really excited for Aura. Completely honest, their first party output and their their Xbox output. Like I'm really excited for this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me, it is very frustrating to see them say like, well, no one's buying an Xbox, so we're gonna start putting our games elsewhere, right? And like I understand that you could look at Starfield, and maybe Starfield didn't drive up a lot of console sales. That's one game. Like you don't just sell one. You don't just put out one game, and everyone's like, gotta buy this console.
Yeah.
Like, no, you need like a library. You know what I mean? Like, you look at a PlayStation, like, I don't know, go back to like the PS4, right? Like, what was the big first PS4 game? Would it be Uncharted 4? I don't remember off the top of my head, but like, sure, like that may be a system seller, but like, PlayStation became undeniable in terms of the fact that like you look at the catalog,
Yeah, that's
the
what it is.
Horizon,
Yeah.
the God of War, the Uncharted, the
Spider-Man,
Returnals, the Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like you could just you line it all up and you're just like, this list is why you need to own a PlayStation, right?
Yeah, it's not just one.
It's not just one. It's not
one
like God of
IP.
War came out in 2018. Everyone's like, okay, this console's a must-have. Like
I think
that
it's like
game
you
is a
said-
must-have, and that's a 10 out of 10 video game. I loved God of War in 2018. I love that game. 10 out of 10 game, absolutely.
Yeah.
But like, if you're a casual gamer, you're just like, okay, I got to pick up a console. Like, it's because you look at the list that they've made over the years that kind of builds into it.
Yeah.
And I think it's really disappointing for Xbox to look at however they did with Starfield and just be like, eh. Now, granted, they might be kind of back. Like, we don't know exactly what they're doing yet.
We don't know their future, but
Jez Corden said last week that there is no Starfield PlayStation port in the works right now. They're not even working on it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're not working on any of these other ports. There's nothing in the works like that.
yeah.
So we have to wait and see what happens there.
Mm-hmm.
But let's move on to number 3 that Phil Spencer lists. According to Spencer, the console market has not grown in the past year. Though Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo Switch consoles are all continuing to sell, Spencer notes that many console gamers are simply upgrading, or to put it another way, they're not new to the market and won't contribute to growth. And without the new customers, everybody else's customer is your success rate, said Spencer. You can't succeed unless you draw in customers from other publishers and other platforms. And because you're not finding new customers with the games that you're building, everybody's kind of fighting over the same size pie. These problems have had a very real, substantial, and immediate human cost. The industry has been consistent and mounting layoffs, including a particularly rough start to this year. Shortly after Microsoft, their acquisition of Activision Blizzard, the company announced it would be laying off 1,900 workers from its gaming division. Polygon asked Spencer if the ABK layoffs were part of the wider trend, or if this was something unique about the layoffs as they pertain to the current Xbox business. Spencer says, it's a little bit of both. But I'll say the thing that has me most concerned for the industry is the lack of growth. And when you have an industry that is projected to be smaller next year in terms of players and dollars, and you get a publicly traded companies that are in the industry that have to show their investors growth, because why else does somebody own a share of someone's stock if it's not going to grow? The side of the business that then gets scrutinized is the cost side. Because if you're not going to grow the revenue side, then the cost becomes challenged. We're a business, I've said over and over, I don't get any luxury of not having to run a profitable, growing business inside of Microsoft. And here we are that today, but just across the industry, you mentioned it. And in sitting here at GDC, I reflect on friends of mine in the industry that have been displaced and lost their jobs. And how just, I don't want this industry to be a place where people can't with confidence build a career. So that's why I keep pivoting back to, how does this industry get back to growth? But to your question, for us at Xbox or any other of the teams that are out there, it is really an outcome of an industry that's not growing. It can grow and it will grow again. But you see this time right now, the implications have human impact. And we should all reflect on that and think about it. So Phil basically drumming up the layoffs to the lack of growth in the games industry. Do you think, in your opinion, is that fair for Phil to cite that, or is it something where maybe Microsoft should have been more they should have been more aware that there was a chance that they were not going to grow much more than they have? Do you think that it's justified for them to lay off 1,900 people? And for let me rephrase that. Do you think it's justified for the entire industry to lay off thousands and thousands of workers, just to be like, well, we're not growing? Or do you think that, is it justifiable?
I think it's justifiable. It does suck at the end of the day. I don't know if I agree with Phil Spencer's take, only because, like I said, they're doing well. They're doing great right now.
That's the thing. Everybody's doing well. Like, nobody talks about that. Like,
yeah,
everybody's doing great.
But
there's just no growth.
The thing is, because they're in last place, they have the most room to growth out of all three companies. And they should try to find a way to fit into that. Right. Instead of, it sounds like almost they're giving up and let's just put our games everywhere. Like you said, when they have the most room to grow, they have the most to come back from.
Yeah. As Polygon continues to talk to Phil Spencer, both with the company and the wider game space in terms of growth, Spencer continually returned to the idea of exclusivity. Obviously, they're porting 4 games to Switch and PlayStation. For Spencer, this was a way to bring in more players and sales to old games, but it's also a way to break some old industry habits, like exclusivity, that may be responsible for the stagnation of the console market. Quote, consider 2 years of lack of growth in the gaming industry at the top line. You start to ask yourself, well, I don't want to grow at the expense of the industry. I want to grow as part of the industry. What do we need to do as an industry to get back on the growth path? I will say, every decision we make today and tomorrow is for the better of Xbox, said Spencer. I know sometimes things get weaponized, and there's some evil in the background that's making us do things. Phil hates exclusives, and that's why we're like PlayStation and Switch now. Every decision we make is to make Xbox stronger in the long run. It doesn't mean everyone's going to agree with every decision we make, but it's fundamental for how we make decisions. For Spencer, moving toward the future is about walking, in some part, away from exclusivity. Quote, this notion that Xbox can only be this one device that plugs into a television isn't something we see in the Gen Z research, because nothing else is like that for them. Some of them will have an iPhone, some will have an Android, but all the games and everything is the same. Phil says that I can still get TikTok on both of them, at least for now. All of their stuff is yeah, it was funny that Phil said that. All of their stuff is available wherever they want. So for Xbox, our brand pivot is, as we attract and maintain relevance with a younger audience, is Xbox a place where I can find the great games I want to? I mean, I admit that Phil definitely has a great point here where he talks about the Gen Z audience. And I think that that's a big thing. And if you remember a few weeks back, I shared a stat here on the podcast where it's like, if you add up the numbers, the numbers for console have not grown. If you take Xbox and PlayStation and add them together, from the PS2 Xbox to the Xbox 360 PS3 and so on and so forth, you add those numbers together and the numbers are very similar.
Well, that's what he was saying. Like, the number, you're fighting over the same.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And so there is an argument there that, you know, for the games industry to grow and to be more sustainable and make more money, that, you know, it's just got to find ways to break out of the walled gardens. And I get it. Like, it's an interesting thing to have. One
of the things I'm a little confused about is, I think it is something you said similarly. If you're not into gaming at this point, what makes you go out and get a console, a $600 console?
Well, yeah, I think I would love to hear, like, getting older, I would love to hear from Gen Z gamers and be like, what would make you buy a console? Like, what is stopping you from buying a console? Like, and I understand, like, maybe it is just the ease of technology with cloud coming in, but I would love to know, because that's always been a big talking point, you know, at least recently, where this is not an Xbox problem. Mm-hmm. Like, Gen Zers are just not buying consoles. Maybe they're buying Nintendo units. I don't know. Nintendo's the only one that hasn't said anything about that. It seems like kids are still playing Nintendo consoles, at least from my perspective. Most children I know have a Switch.
The Nintendo drug is still very potent, and it's still getting all the kids. Gets them. Yeah, but for some reason, just even if you do have a console, what makes you want to get another one? What makes you want to get 2 consoles? Well, why should you care? Mm-hmm. If you're not into gaming, how do you get someone who's not into gaming or doesn't have a console into gaming at this point? I think the pie is always going to have a limit on it, and you're just going to always be fighting for that pie. I don't know.
Well, I think the idea, again, is that it comes from Gen Z. So as people get older, people stop playing, and you would expect the younger generation to come in and start taking over that spot. It happened with us, where like we weren't the first generation of gamers.
No.
We didn't grow up in the 80s with NES. That older generation is reaching that, you know, they're getting older, and I'm not saying they're going to stop playing. Like, I know I'm not going to stop playing games.
Yeah.
I'm never going to stop playing games. Like, if I'm physically unable to play a game, I'm just going to play like a turn-based game. Like I'm never going to stop playing games. I love video games that much. You know, but some people will stop. And the idea is that some people circulate out and the younger generation fill those numbers and they come in. So, and it's a cycle. It's a cycle of life. So
The pie is always
the
going to be the
problem
same.
is that the
The
younger
same size,
generation
though.
is not coming in now. So in at least in terms of their research, they're seeing that like Gen Zers and younger people are just not buying consoles, which I think is why Xbox is like, hey, like let's try to just be everywhere. Like that's why they did the mobile thing, and they're doing the cloud thing, and they're doing the PC thing, and they're having Game Pass and not Game Pass, and I think just making yourself as again, I work in management, and where I work, we are trying to have as many points of sale for customers, right? We make it so you can have it. You could do business with us on your phone. You could do business with us, to get things delivered, to get things picked up. Like you don't even have to come in the building anymore to pick things up. We still have the traditional methods of having people coming in and doing business the old-fashioned way. But even when you come in the door, like, do you want to work with a person, or do you want to work with a computer? Like we have so many order points, and it's not to necessarily do away with any one of those points of sales. It's just to bring in as many people. Like if you don't want to talk to other human beings, you can come in and you can do your business that way. If you want to talk to people, I was having a conversation with an elderly gentleman at work the other day, and he was just like, I don't understand why you guys are pushing like the technology aspect of it. It's just like, hey, look, like there's always going to be people like you, sir, that want to do business with a human being, and like that's why we're going to be here. But like there's other people who maybe for them that's a barrier where they don't want to talk to people. And maybe they won't do business with us because they don't want to talk to people. We want to give as many people the way to do the business as possible. And I think that that's what Phil is trying to do with Xbox. And like, look, it's going to rub people the wrong way. It's going to do things that people aren't going to like. It's also why I argue that physical media isn't going to go away anytime soon, because it's like it's about giving people choice. I think like Xbox partnering with limited run games in recent year, in the past few months, is a great example of how you can make that work. Where it's just like maybe Xbox doesn't even need to print the disc themselves. Let limited run games do the work, and they do the orders, and then they print the disc and they ship them out. So that's why I think the business is headed. I think it's all about just creating as many point of sales as you can.
I think it's more than that, though. There's two things. There's that, but there's also the money making part and the money spending part, and that's why I do think physical will die faster than we think it will.
I don't think so.
And
I think
that same analogy that you use, a lot of companies are saying, "Hey, why should I pay 4 cashiers? I can just pay 1 cashier and just have like 3 kiosks." And
but your point is still there, is that there's still a cashier.
Yeah, for now.
Yeah, for now.
Yeah.
Anyways, we still have a little bit more to go for this Phil Spencer interview. Phil wants Epic Game Store and other platforms or storefronts on Xbox consoles. Phil doesn't just want Xbox games on consoles, he wants other video game retailers on Xbox too. In an interview with Microsoft CEO Phil Spencer during GDC, Spencer told Polygon the ways he'd like to break down the walled gardens that have historically limited players to making purchases through the first-party stores tied to each console. Or, in layperson terms, why you should be able to buy games from other stores on Xbox, not just Xbox's official storefront. Spencer mentioned his frustrations with closed ecosystems, so he asked for clarity. Could he really see a future where like itch.io or Epic Game Store existed on Xbox? Was it just a matter of figuring out mountains of paperwork to get there? Yes, said Spencer. Consider our history as the Windows company. Nobody would blink twice if I said, hey, when you're using a PC, you get to decide what type of experience you have by picking where you buy your games. There's a real value in that. Spencer believes console players would benefit from the freedom too, and so would console makers like Microsoft. Spencer explained how, in the past, console makers would typically subsidize the cost of expensive hardware, knowing that a portion of every dollar spent on games for the platform over the years would eventually make it back to the console maker. Then, in time, the console maker would recoup the subsidy and hopefully more. But, Spencer said, Moore's Law has slowed down. The price of components of a console aren't coming down as fast as they have in previous generations. Worse, he explained, the console market isn't growing, and with more gamers moving to PC and handheld options, now the notion of subsidizing a console and forcing players to purchase games through the official storefront to help recoup costs might not make sense. The walls meant to lock people into consoles might be motivating them to stay out of consoles. Subsidizing hardware becomes more challenging in today's world, Spencer said, and I will say that this may seem too altruistic. I don't know that it's growing the industry. So I think, what are the barriers? What are the things that create friction in today's world for creators and players? And how can we be part of opening up that model? The answer, in part, is scrapping exclusivity on more and more games. Spencer explained that the game experience is hindered when it matters what consoles we play on or what shops we sell our games. As an example, he pointed to Sea of Thieves. A player, he explained, shouldn't have to worry about what hardware they or their friends own. They should just know that if their friends have and want to play Sea of Thieves. Now, Spencer said, if I want to play on a gaming PC, then I feel like I'm more a continuous part of a gaming ecosystem as a whole. As opposed to on console, my gaming is kind of sharded, to use a gaming term, based on a different closed ecosystem that I have to play across. So I think Phil Spencer makes a good point here. And again, so we've talked about it, where the vision that Phil is mentioning, on paper, I don't disagree with it. I think it sounds great. My concern is, will the rest of the industry follow suit here? And I think that is so key and so pivotal to... Oh, Forrest bought Dragon's Dogma.
Oh, nice.
Nice. Forrest, are you going to be spending money on Dragon's Dogma? Are you going to buy those fast travel points? You don't have to, but will you? So I just think that what Phil wants to do here is so pivotal. Like, it's so contingent on, will the market follow suit with him? He paid for fast travel.
No, he didn't.
You're lying. Shut up. He did not. Where's Ty? Ty couldn't be here.
There's no way.
Right now, Ty's listening on the playback, and he's like, "What?"
What Phil's saying, it almost feels like a common sense thing. Like, it doesn't. I don't even think they need to worry about if others are going to do it too. I think if they do it and they do it well, they're perfectly fine. The consoles, this generation especially, they seem more like PCs than ever.
Yeah, I mean,
and I think that's what they're moving towards. Where, hey, instead of it being a console, instead of people seeing it as a console, it is a PC you connect to your TV. Now with that, you have Steam on there. I don't even think they need to ask for Steam's permission to get it on Xbox. If you make the console more PC like on a TV, now you have Steam. Now you have the Epic Game Store. Now you have all of this.
Yeah. So I think that, again, like, would me as an Xbox gamer, would I love it for Steam to be available on my console? Absolutely. Would I love for Epic Game? Absolutely. Like, that's something that as a customer, I think I would definitely want. It would definitely be interesting. I could definitely see myself playing Steam games that aren't on the Xbox console on my Xbox console. Like, that's something I could definitely see me doing.
Yeah. I think you also talked about the potential of having PlayStation games on your Xbox console. Like,
so yeah, I mentioned this, and I think that this could be a real genius loophole. Now, here's the thing, and Jez Corden on his podcast, the Xbox 2 podcast, he said that there would have to be mountains of legal issues there, so, like, it probably wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
But, like, could you imagine if that's Phil's plan? So, like, let's say Steam. So Phil gets Steam on Xbox, right? PlayStation first-party games are on Steam. Theoretically, couldn't you just buy the PlayStation first-party games on Steam and play them on your Xbox?
Yeah.
And I think that would be genius 4D chess. If there's a way for Phil to get that to happen, and PlayStation, like, isn't 100% cool with it, but, like, they're like, well, we want the PC sales, and we'll get the sales on Xbox.
Yeah.
That is, like, some brilliant 4D chess, in my opinion, for Phil Spencer. Like he's like, all right, Sony, so you don't want to put your PlayStation games on Xbox? Well, we're going to take Steam, we're going to put it on Xbox. So if you want those PC sales, you're going to do business on our console.
Yeah.
I think that is brilliant.
The only thing that I'm having trouble with is why get an Xbox? Why get a PS5? Why not just get a PC? They're getting closer and closer to becoming PCs.
I mean, I'll tell you why. I think that at the end of the day, the console market does have an audience. Like, there are people that don't want to build a PC. There are people that don't want to do these things. There are people that are going to, I mean, like,
you don't have to build
gaming
one.
Consoles are cheaper than gaming PCs. A good gaming PC. Gaming consoles also work as a baseline spec for developers. So, like if you're a PC gamer and a game comes out, like, what happens? You always got to check the specs. Like, you have to worry about that. Like, can my rig run this game? That is something that you always have to look at. Whereas with consoles, it's like, hey, Xbox is selling this game. It's going to play on my Xbox, or it's going to play on my PlayStation. And I think that it just simplifies a lot of that process. Like, as a gamer, like, could you imagine if, like, and it's the big problem with the Series S, where Xbox has been very, like, we have to make sure we support it. Where it's like, could you imagine if, like, like, a new game coming out? Like, I don't know, we'll just use Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, because I'm playing the hell out of that right now. Like, okay, I'm really excited for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. and I have my PlayStation. Could you imagine like if I was like, oh okay, I gotta like, it's not gonna, is it gonna play on my PlayStation or not? Like it just it's a lot of hassle for some people, and some like me personally, I don't want to do that. Like look,
I think you're
people that want to do
you're
it on
stressing it out
PC.
way more than it actually is. Like you
Well,
just
no. What if you don't have the specs? It's like, hey, I have my gaming PC, and like, oh man, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth does not run on my gaming PC, so now I gotta shovel out more money to upgrade my gaming PC. Like,
no, I think
I would just rather it be like, hey, you have a PlayStation 5.
if you bought your
A game
PC,
released on PlayStation 5 will play on your PlayStation 5.
yeah, it's
End
one of those.
story.
If you bought your PC within the last decade, the game will run on your PC. Like it's not as marginal as you're making it seem. At least not as it used to be. Like today,
I just disagree. I mean, it's just.
but what do you mean you disagree? It's games just run on
games, yeah,
on
it's
hard.
just-
Yeah, there's no.
I'm just telling you.
Like you don't have to build a PC. You can get it pre-built. You don't need
how much does that cost you?
about the same $600, $700.
Okay.
And on
I
top
don't
of that,
believe
you're
that.
doing. What do you mean? You
I
can
don't
look
believe
up gaming. Yeah, you
I don't
can.
believe that.
You can just find it. What do you mean? You're on the internet. Look it up. Google it right now.
I don't see anything. I'm not seeing it.
And on top of that, the changes that Xbox want to make, they're already there on PC. Like you can play Xbox games on your PC and Steam games and Epic games. It's all there. There's plenty of sales. There's already a library. So what he's saying is, let's make these consoles more like PC because there's a console barrier that keeps people from coming in. So,
I mean, yeah, he basically wants the Xbox platform to be similar to a PC platform.
yeah,
But it would still
a platform that already exists.
right. But it's the idea of it's just the extension of that. It's another way of playing the games. Like it's just like I don't know how else to put it. Like that's why the console exists. It exists as an option of how you buy your games and how you consume your games.
Yeah,
Some people don't want to have a PC. Some people don't have the setup for a PC.
you don't even need a
My
setup.
room's not really set up for a PC.
What do you mean? You could put a PC right where the Xbox is.
It wouldn't fit. The Xbox is there.
You put the Xbox in the
You
trash
see how big
and you
those
put the
PCs
PC
are?
there.
You see how big they are?
Yeah, I'm looking right at two of them. You got right there. Two PCs.
No, PC would be
Pretty
bigger
massive.
than both of those. PC's
Not
bigger
really.
than both. Yeah. Well, maybe not the PlayStation. The Xbox definitely.
It depends on the size and stuff you want to get. But yeah,
I
you
would
have,
want a good PC.
Yeah.
It's gonna cost me like $1,200.
you have plenty of
I don't
room.
have time for that. Nor money.
You have plenty of room.
Can't afford it. It's too expensive.
All right, you can't afford it when you have $1,200 worth of consoles sitting right there,
That's $1,000. Both of them were $500.
and the Switch.
That's like 8 years old, dude. What are you talking about? Come
All
on,
right.
get out of here. Switch is like eight years old.
Listen, it's just he's fighting in a market where he said it himself. Like there's walls around the console market that prevent people from coming in.
Yeah, but that
And
doesn't mean you knock the walls down. It doesn't mean you don't have the garden anymore. You still have the garden. You
No,
still have the walls up.
The walls crush the garden.
Well, maybe you can not do that.
That's what he's trying to do, though. He's trying to break those walls down, and by doing that, he's making it more like PC, which is great. But it's at that point, why get a console? Why am I spending all this money on a console?
Again, I think you're looking at it like it's about the ecosystem. So it's like
But that ecosystem's already on PC. Xbox is so integrated with
right. But
with
what I'm saying
Windows.
is Xbox and PlayStation have their storefronts, and they want people to still come into the ecosystem and spend time in that ecosystem.
I know that's what they want.
Your library of games is on the Xbox ecosystem. So
Absolutely.
if Xbox wants to put out a box where like, hey, this is where if you want to, you can consume the Xbox ecosystem, be a part of the ecosystem on this box, and that's what this box is specifically made to do. There's like, it's all about options. It's like yes, there are people that are going to build a PC, and that's for them. There are people that want to buy consoles.
I get it. I mean, I don't get it, but that is what it is.
Well, I mean, then should we even talk about the handheld Xbox? You don't think Xbox should be making hardware? So do we need to talk about this? You just don't agree that Xbox should be making hardware? Is that your take? Because I mean, we could.
I mean, kinda. The
Alright,
whole
so-
issue. So like, remember what we said? What I should keep saying, which is, there's already handhelds out there that do what they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're making it as this big news. It's going to be an Xbox handheld, whatever. The only way I can see it doing well is something that also hurts them in the end, is by making a Windows that's specifically for gaming. Get rid of all the fluff.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know right now when you try to play Xbox games on handheld, you got to jump through certain hoops. You got to like change settings and all that. It's not very flush. Like you said with the Xbox, you put a game in, you play it. With the handhelds, the window handhelds so far, it's not just let's pick a game and play it. You do have to change settings and all that. The Xbox will make a more streamlined version of that, yes. But there needs to be a Windows operating system that can just run games, and that's what it's built for, and we don't have that yet.
Well, Phil Spencer does actually go in to talk about the possibilities of a PC Xbox, or sorry, an Xbox handheld, and what he would do. So basically, this is from Phil. Quote, I want my Lenovo Legion Go to feel like an Xbox, Spencer told Polygon in an interview during the GDC. I brought the Go with me to GDC. I'm on the airplane and I have a list of everything that makes it not feel like an Xbox. Forget about the brand. More like, are all my games here? Do all my games show up with the saves that I want? I'll tell you one game that doesn't right now. It's driving me crazy is Fallout 76. It doesn't have cross-save. I want to be able to boot into the Xbox app in a full screen, but in a compact mode. And all my social experience is there. Like, I want it to feel like the dash of my Xbox when I turn on the television. Except I want it on those devices. According to Spencer, the Xbox hardware team, led by Roanne Sones, is considering different hardware form factors and things that they could go do, as it plans the future of Xbox hardware. What should we build that will find new players, Spencer said. That will allow people to play at times when they couldn't go play in the past. In the interview with Polygon, Spencer described the two approaches to making Xbox available on handhelds, the hardware versus the software. As he said, he has strong feelings about what a handheld device for Xbox should feel like. But he also recognizes, having learned from the console business, that players may choose brands other than Xbox. For those players, Spencer wants to improve the Xbox handheld gaming software experience too.
Yes, that's the most important.
Particularly for people who have devices running Windows like the Legion Go and the Ally. I like the fact that Valve, Lenovo, and Asus went out and innovated in a new form factor. And I will say that when I'm playing on those devices, it almost feels more like a console than a PC, 9 times out of 10. The things that usually frustrate me are more Windows-based and device-based, which is an area I feel some ownership of. Like, I want to be able to log in with a controller. I've got a list of things that we should go do. Spencer has spent his tenure at Microsoft pushing Xbox to be both a console experience and a software experience, and follows players wherever they enjoy games. That philosophy expands with his views on handheld gaming. From a game creator standpoint, Spencer said, I can go build a single version of my game that spans more hardware and reaches more customers. And I would say for players, it reduces the friction. Like, if I want to go play my console games on the go with a handheld, I don't want to only be able to buy one brand of handheld, right? I want everything that we're doing in the hardware space to be great. But if somebody chooses to go play somewhere else, I don't want them to feel like a lesser Xbox player. Over the past 7 years, we've seen Xbox development team get creative with its software, moving games to new platforms, building Game Pass, and making games playable on smartphones through streaming. As we wrapped our conversation, Spencer wouldn't outright announce an official Xbox handheld, which is, by the way, the worst kept secret at this point. Like, they're clearly making a handheld.
Yeah.
Like, Phil's literally doing interviews. He's like, I Xbox handheld. These are all the things I want to do. I have a whole list. Like, Jez Cordion's like, yeah, they're prototyping. Like, everyone's like, they're talking about it. Everyone's talking about it. And Phil's like, we don't have one.
Yeah.
It's like, this is what I would do if I had one.
Yeah.
It's like the Fairly Odd Parents.
This is where I would
put my trophy if I had one.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, Spencer says...
It sounds like he knows the importance of the software, and that's the most important part. If you need better software for the devices that are already out there, because your device that you're making is just going to mimic that. You're making a device that's copying devices that are already out there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're just adding a device to the market. It probably won't sell crazy well.
I mean, we have to
we'll
see. You never know. I think that, again, I think Phil's point is that, like, it's just all about creating how many places you can play. And I think that's important to them, which is why I think that they're going to continue to do hardware. At least throughout, I could see at least there being another 2 generations of consoles. At least. I just think that, again, it's all about giving choices. Like, yes, maybe less people consume games that way. But, like, again, it's all about growth. They want to grow. They want to have as many places as possible and many abilities. Like, I would say, like...
It's not just all about where you can get customers, though. You have to remember that cost is what they look at, too. Money is something that's very important to them.
I get that, but if they're looking at it and they're like, hey, if it's something that makes sense, maybe they just make less of these things. Like, that could be a feasible way of doing it. I don't know. And we'll have to see how it plays out. It really doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, the series finale of video games comes out next year. Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out. There's no more video games after that.
What about Elder Scrolls 6? That's not coming out?
It's a shame it's not coming out. It's just not coming out before GTA 6.
Okay.
Yeah. gonna never get it. Tears of the Kingdom was the last Zelda game. Like that breaks my heart. Actually, that's not true. Nintendo's gonna keep going.
Oh, okay.
Let me rephrase that. The series finale of non-Nintendo video games is Grand Theft Auto 6.
Okay.
Everything else is Nintendo's gonna be around forever.
I don't know how I feel about that.
At least 56 years, as we've talked about.
56 years.
Yeah, at least 56 years. At this point, it has to be more. The Switch is so successful. Like, there has to be more. I would love to get an update on that number. It's like, how many years could Nintendo lose $1 billion in profit before they were in trouble? Anyways, a little bit more Xbox news, but not about the Phil Spencer. Number 2 on the headlines. So, Jez Corden has heard that Microsoft had an all-hands meeting recently with Phil Spencer. They discussed what the future looks like at Xbox and discussed the rumors of going third-party. Phil said the decisions we take today are about ensuring Xbox's future, not for years, but for decades to come, and Xbox will be stronger in the years, decades to come, and he specifically said that includes hardware. So there you go, Devro. Also, an Xbox higher-up recently DM'd Jez saying, there's a lot of things that we do wrong at Microsoft, and there's a lot of things I would change, and there's a lot of things that maybe I understand people being worried about. But there's one thing you shouldn't worry about, and that is the commitment to gaming. According to Jez, there has been a disruption at the brand, and part of that disruption is how costs have grown in recent years. Everything has gotten more expensive, and that's why they put Sea of Thieves on PlayStation. Rare has no cash flow apart from Sea of Thieves. With expenses going up, especially in the UK due to Brexit and COVID, adding another revenue stream to Sea of Thieves is crucial. Microsoft wants each division to stand on its own 2 feet. Every team needs to stand on their own 2 feet eventually. So Jez basically coming in and saying that. I believe it's weird. I definitely had it at some point, but Idle Sloth, who aggregated this information from Jez, also points out that Matt Booty also apparently, I think, said stuff at the meeting saying that the Xbox brand has been stressed but not ruined. So they're acknowledging that what they're doing today and the things that they're saying is affecting the Xbox brand. It's definitely not helping the brand, but they believe that it's a necessity that isn't ruining the brand, but that they can bounce back from. So yeah. Number 3 on the headlines. This was over from PC Gamer. Saying in terms of Game Pass and Slay the Spire and Darkest Dungeon developers are saying that big Game Pass and Epic exclusive deals have dried up for indie devs, saying the gold rush is over. In an interview at last week's GDC in San Francisco, the developers behind indie sensations Slay the Spire and Darkest Dungeon said the deal some small developers have come to rely on for funding in recent years, like Epic Game Store exclusives or Xbox Game Pass, are no longer what they once were. Quote, I talked to at least 5 small teams, like 35 members and under, during GDC, and they're like, cuts, funding canceled, talks that were going on for a year canceled, said Casey Yano, the co-founder of Slay the Spire Studio Mega Crit. It sounds like it's shit. We're definitely very privileged to be able to self-fund. Otherwise, I'd be very, very, very scared right now. Slay the Spire launched to slow stay early access before eventually becoming a deck-building juggernaut. Darkest Dungeon was likewise a Steam's early access success. Both games are available on PC Game Pass, though DD director Chris Barassa said that Microsoft's deals are getting games on Game Pass have come down in scope since the service began. So has Epic, Barrosa said. The gold rush is over. I come from the Northwest Territories. The town I'm from was built on gold, and then they found diamonds further north. Maybe another paradigm shift is waiting for us, but I definitely think the scale of the deals I'm hearing about is significantly dimes from the big swinging days. Certainly, we got our Epic deal at the right time. So yeah, this also kind of coincides with things Jez Corden has also heard about, maybe Xbox is starting to divest a little bit in Game Pass.
Which sucks, I think.
It does suck. I think that there is some value to Game Pass, and it is a shame. But, I mean, we just got to see maybe when Xbox can... Again, maybe that's the future Phil's talking about, where it's like, hey, if we can grow, we can make Game Pass better.
I hope so. I don't want Game Pass to disappear. I also don't want it to become what
PlayStation Plus is.
Or what Games of Gold became as time went on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on what's going on with Game Pass. Again, I'm a subscriber to Game Pass, so I would like to see it continue to be strong. So we'll see. Other quick little thing. Xbox Cloud Gaming now has mouse and keyboard support, so that's really cool. Next up in the headlines, Final Fantasy 16. Unfortunately, the link is dead, which is interesting. But Windows Central was reporting that Final Fantasy 16 could be coming to Xbox. It was teased by Yoshi P, who worked on the game.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I think it would be fine there. That's the multiplayer, right?
No, Final Fantasy 16 is
that's the recent one
the
that
one
came out this year.
PlayStation last year. Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. I know you'd rather 7 and the 7 games.
Yeah, for me that news is kind of like whatever, man. I wouldn't buy it on Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Final Fantasy 16 was fine, like just fine.
Yeah,
it's a video game. I was talking to a friend last night about it, and he asked me how it was, and I was like, "It's a video game. It's not a bad video game. It's just a video game. It is
what it is.
It's got cool. Is this just Dev's gameplay? No, this isn't your gameplay, right?
No, this is not my gameplay.
Okay. Yeah, I think that Final Fantasy 16 is fine, and you're looking at it right now. This is gameplay of it.
Sorry.
What was it?
Unless he means developers gameplay.
Oh, yeah, maybe. I don't know. But I don't know. I was underwhelmed by Final Fantasy 16, so I mean, for me, that's not the game I want to see Square Enix bring to Xbox. But we'll see. Next up, Xbox Game Studios' Ara History Untold is coming to console, just not at launch. In a recent Steam community post, the developer said that while they're laser focused on a top-notch PC-first experience, Oxide will reveal its Xbox plans after the game's initial PC launch. They said, Oxide Games is laser focused on delivering a top-notch PC-first experience with Ara slated for Windows, Steam, and PC Game Pass later this year. Plans for Xbox consoles will be revealed post-launch. This is a game that I'm really excited to actually kind of dive into, and it might, I probably will play this on my gaming laptop.
This game looks like it sucks so much time. Like, this looks like such a time.
I'm terrified to get into it, but, like, it looks really good.
It does look good, though.
It looks so good. Watching it at the developer direct last month, or I guess at this point it's 2 months ago, like, it looks incredible.
Yeah.
Number 7 on the headlines, Deborah. We're going to run through some layoffs real quick. Obviously, it's that time of the show.
Some quick fire layoffs.
Yeah, I mean, just for the sake of time. So, Certain Affinity, which is the Halo support studio, who's also helped out with Call of Duty prior to the Activision Blizzard acquisition, they've laid off 25 developers, which is about 10% of the company, citing industry slowdown and reluctance of third-party investors to fund new projects. This is the first layoffs ever in the studio's 17-plus year history.
Wow.
Sega was also hit with layoffs. It was revealed that Sega is preparing to make mass layoffs that will impact as many as 240 employees across a range of studios. At the top of the table sits the likes of Sega Europe, Creative Assembly, and Hardlight. I don't think that this... let's see. This news comes from confirmation that handed down that Relic Entertainment, known primarily for Company of Heroes, has secured an external investor and will be buying the studio away from Sega.
Okay.
So it's another story we're seeing of a developer breaking away from a publisher.
Yeah.
And then lastly, a bit of a surprising one. Nintendo of America is cutting 120 contractor roles ahead of the Super Switch's launch. According to Kotaku reporter Ethan Gatch, who was told that some contractors are being laid off, admittedly, others are being offered full-time positions. So
okay.
they're laying some of the contractors off, and they're bringing the rest on board.
Okay.
The split between job losses and hires is unclear, with the site sources claiming that the move represents a massive downsizing of the Washington-based testing department, while Nintendo said it would lead to a creation of a significant number of new full-time employee positions. So, yeah, they're cutting 120 jobs, but it's also assumed that they're bringing on more people full-time. Number 8 in the headlines.
I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, Gearbox has been sold to Take-Two Interactive, breaking away from the Embracer Group. Gearbox Entertainment has a new owner, and that is Take-Two Interactive. They are selling for $460 million. The $460 million will be paid out in full as newly issued Take-Two shares. As part of the sale, Take-Two will receive Gearbox Software, Gearbox Montreal, and Gearbox Studio Quebec. From a game standpoint, the company will receive rights to Borderlands and Tiny Tina's Wonderlands franchises, along with Risk of Rain, Brothers in Arms, Duke Nukem, and Homeworld.
That sounds like a deal, doesn't it? Less than 500 million.
See, Ty and I were talking on Twitter about this, and I guess when you shake it out and you look at the IP they're bringing in, the money makes a little bit more sense. I thought 460 million was high because, like, I just don't see Borderlands as that big of a deal anymore. Like, I think the franchise has cooled off in recent years.
I agree with you. I agree with that.
But I mean, you look at it like there are other IP here. Obviously, Duke Nukem is a pretty big IP, even though not really anymore.
I just think the potential of Borderlands is there. Like, you have an IP that's that big. It's another shooter, a big shooter. Mm. We talked about how all the references they talk to, like they have a lot of comedy stuff. I think that aligns well with at least GTA.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it would work out really well.
Yeah. So it sounds great. Take-Two coming in, saving Gearbox, so that way there's no layoffs, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there's layoffs.
You'd be right.
Yeah.
Hours after Gearbox was sold to Take-Two, were hours. Like I remember when I was making my notes, because I always go through the news and I add it to a spreadsheet to make the script when we do the show.
Yeah.
I was like, oh cool, Gearbox was sold. I went and I was working and I sat down for my lunch break hours later, and Gearbox has laid off staff hours after being sold by Embracer. According to multiple posts on social media, a number of people are no longer working for Gearbox after it was announced that the company is being purchased by Take-Two Interactive. Along with countless others, I've just been informed I've been laid off at Gearbox, former PR manager Jennifer Locke posted on Twitter. It really was a dream come true working on this team, and I'm incredibly grateful for my time here. Senior user research investigator also posted on the platform saying, I just lost my job. Following the exciting news of the Take-Two Interactive and Gearbox Entertainment merger last night, I, like many others, received the unfortunate news this morning that my position will no longer be required. Former Director of Online Engagement Chris Harada posted on LinkedIn. After 3 incredible years at Gearbox, my journey with the company has concluded. Another former PR staff member, Steve Prince, confirmed on LinkedIn he was among the cuts. As of the writing of this article, it was unclear how many were impacted by the layoffs. Gearbox and Take-Two did not return Insider Gaming's request for comment about the story. Man, fuck Randy Pitchford. He's like, we got to get away from Embracer. We gotta save the company and save people's jobs.
Yeah.
And they get away, and then, we're actually laying people off.
Embracer, I don't think we've heard any good news from Embracer since.
I'm convinced that Embracer doesn't make video games at this point. I'm just convinced. I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I'm convinced that there's not a single person working on a video game at Embracer. We never hear about games coming. In the last, since the Saudi Arabia deal fell through, have we heard any, I'm actually going to Google it. What video games, because I really don't know. What video games are Embracer working on? Let's see. I found the Wikipedia. That's not really what I'm looking for, though. Hold on. Google is not really helping me here. I'm struggling to find something. Everything I find is canceled games, layoffs. So in February 16th, 2023, GameDeveloper.com reports that Embracer currently had a whopping 224 game projects in development. I don't believe that. I refuse to believe that. Maybe you have the manpower to do that, but I don't believe that's factually true. There's no we haven't heard anything about any games coming out of them. So believe what you want. I'm gonna say probably not. Number 9 on the headlines, Insider Gaming did an expose revealing XDefiant's toxic work culture, crunch, and years of delays. Following Insider Gaming's exclusive report this weekend, it took all but 12 minutes for executive producer Mark Rubin and another disingenuous tweet from Atches to shoot down the rumors that XDefiant's delays aren't related to chasing Call of Duty. Nevertheless, Rubin did confirm that the game has yet again been delayed, but its latest delay was because of major technical issues regarding the game's netcode, which is an issue that has been outlined since November 2023. As previously mentioned, XDefiant has missed dozens of internal milestones and deadlines these past couple of years, and although Rubin's latest comments on XDefiant missing its latest release date due to the netcode are accurate, it's not a simple case of one-and-done issue that has plagued the game for years. As Insider Gaming has reported, XDefiant's shortcomings stem from several executives and directors on the project. They are internally referred to as the Boys Club for a large majority of the team. I'm sure this is going great places. At first, the Boys Club was the name given to a select few individuals who caused constant problems for the game's development, and the term was collectively agreed upon by some members of the team to feel a sense of camaraderie. But a couple of years later, that group grew into a dozen or so, both male and female individuals, and its terms has evolved into something much more bitter in the studio. The group has been the cause of missed deadlines, crunch, a toxic work environment, and multiple people leaving the project, said sources. While there isn't an exact date on when the club evolved into something more sinister, several sources stated that the change became the most apparent around the time when the Tom Clancy brand was dropped, publicly announced early 2022, before the decision. The game was intended to be released in holiday of 2021 without any significant issues that plague the game today. The change meant more freedom for the project, allowing the Boys Club to make unnecessary changes, which had a domino effect on the progress of the game. Despite the warnings from the team, it's currently added over 2 years to the game's development. Eventually, things got so bad that XDefiant's toxic work culture, crunch, and internal problems became so prevalent that knowledge of the Boys Club even spread to other studios at Ubisoft. The issue with the Boys Club isn't that it's managers or directors telling developers what to do, after all, that's their job. But it's the lack of work ethic, unpleasant behavior, and the egos from these individuals that have created a really unhealthy workplace, said sources. One member has no design experience or people experience and has been given directorial powers because of their personal friendships, said one source. It means that developers are left with the responsibilities beyond their original job descriptions, told to work tedious hours of overtime to complete tasks, and are often shrugged aside when suggestions don't align with the views of the higher-ups. There have been many instances where people have cried, had mental breakdowns, or stopped caring about their well-being because of the toxic environment fostered by the Boys Club, it was said. The Boys Club is a closed group of protected individuals who think they are better than everyone else, and they do as they please without any repercussions, said one developer working on the project. One member has a history of treating people extremely badly with more HR reports than I've ever seen, said another person. I frequently was told the following by management. What do you know? You have never shipped a game before. If you want to make it to where I'm at, you need to do XYZ thing, said a former developer who has since left Ubisoft altogether because of how they were treated. I've heard it's pretty bad over there, but it's bad everywhere at Ubisoft, to be honest, said another developer working at another Ubisoft studio. It's really bad over there.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
The report goes on to talk about the netcode, which and chasing Call of Duty, but we've talked about that previously. Ubisoft is just a terrible place to work.
It sounds like it.
And it's funny because it's things like that lead me to, when I make the argument that I'm actually kind of pro consolidation in the games industry, like it's things like that I'm talking about. Like where like you see how Ubisoft is being run, and it's just like, you clearly do not know how to run this business. Like the damning thing for me is the last developer who doesn't even work on XDefiant. They're at a whole nother studio in Ubisoft.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, but I mean everywhere at Ubisoft's like that. Like that's all you need to know about the kind of business that Ubisoft is running.
It sucks because the game itself looks really good. Like it looks really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope they just put this game out and make a lot of changes over there.
Yeah.
Because they need a lot of changes.
Speaking of things that need changes, number 10 on the headlines, GameStop has also cut jobs amid what they are quoting as unsustainable sales declines. U.S. video game retailer GameStop announced job cuts amid unsustainable sales decline. GameStop's fourth quarter saw $1.794 billion in sales compared to $2.26 billion in the prior year's fourth quarter. Net income was $63.1 million for the fourth quarter, compared to net income of $48.2 million for the prior year's fourth quarter. For the fiscal year 2023, sales were $5.273 billion compared to $5.927 billion for the fiscal year 2022. Net income was $6.7 million compared to a net loss of $313.1 million for fiscal year of 2022. While net income improved for the fiscal year, the dramatic sales decline is worrying analysts. Reuters reported on comments from Wedbush Securities analyst Michael Pachter, who said an increasing mix of digital downloads is hurting physical retail. And there is simply no reason to go to a store if a consumer can just order a game and download it immediately. Revenues are highly unlikely to rebound unless management figures out a way to drive store traffic. I suspect they will keep trimming costs to generate break even or better, but it is inevitable that their sales will decline to an unsustainable level. GameStop did not issue any comments, and CEO Ryan Cohen did not hold any earnings calls about the numbers. But GameStop had cut an unspecified number of jobs to reduce costs. As of February 3rd, GameStop had about 8,000 full-time staff and between 13,000 and 18,000 part-time staff, Reuters said. It had 11,000 full-time staff and between 14 and 27,000 part-time staff in 2023. As a result of the job cuts, expenses fell 21.2%. Yeah. So they cut enough jobs where they cut 20% of their expenses. I mean, we've talked about this, and like I do think that the way physical media is bought is going to change. Mm-hmm. And I do, like, I'm going to continue to say this. Like, I think the limited run model is the way that we're going to see it in the future.
It sounds like the best way so far.
I think it's an everybody wins situation where they can keep the costs down, and they can also, the people that want to buy the games physically can still do that.
Yeah, I think they're definitely have to push that onto third parties. I could see publishers and developers not even being wanting to deal with
that. But here's the other thing. I would push back about GameStop. I think that GameStop also hasn't done itself any favors in terms of running its business and being a gamer-friendly place to buy your games. Like, I used to love going to GameStop, and as the years went on, like, I still buy physical games, but I barely ever go to GameStop. I just buy on Amazon. Or I buy, like, well, I don't really go to Best Buy because they got rid of their physical media, but, like, there were other places where I would buy my physical games before I went to GameStop. And it's just because GameStop has become so terrible. Like, just so god-awful. Yeah. That, like, you can't justify it.
They're trying to stay afloat, and the way they're doing it is membership and points.
And it's not right.
Yeah, it's just not working.
If I was the head of GameStop, and they did kind of experiment with this a little bit, like, I would do whatever I could to make sure my business was the hub of gaming, like a social hub, like not even just a place to buy games. Like, yes, you could buy your games there. Yes, you could walk into a GameStop and buy a console.
To go back into an arcade sort of
way. Yeah, where it's like, hey, like maybe you go into a GameStop and you know there's like leagues playing there, like where there's like LAN parties or like. You know, they're not called LAN parties anymore, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have like areas set up where people are in there playing games and consuming games how they want to consume games. Yeah. Like,
but I don't think even that would save it. I mean, what the word they use is unsustainable sales decline.
Well, that's the analyst that's saying that.
It's
but that's as their current business model. You could change your business model is what I'm saying.
I don't
know if they will, but I'm just saying they could.
Remember when they were at their lowest, they couldn't even sell. Like no one wanted to buy them at their lowest. And then they stayed in the market longer because of the whole stock market thing that happened. But yeah, I don't know what turnaround they can do.
I don't know. But we'll have to see if they can turn it around. All right. We're winding down here. Number 11 on the headlines. Sonic Heroes apparently is rumored that a remake is in development for Super Switch, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PC via Steam. It's funny because this game was also the first multi-platform Sonic game. It released for the PS2, Nintendo GameCube, Xbox, and PC back in the day. But there is a rumored remake in the works. And yeah, Forrest, GameStop is very overpriced. They are not competitive. So it's actually funny because I actually was looking at buying a game physically on GameStop's website. And they were trying to charge me like $11 for shipping for one video game. And I was like...
That's crazy.
I was like, here, this is literally me. I literally was on my phone on GameStop.com, and I was like...
$11?
And like they were like, oh, do you want to apply your $5 Pro member? Because here's the thing. I had actually resubscribed to Pro for those $5 coupons.
Yeah.
And also for my GameStop subscription, which, I didn't put it in the headlines, but GameStop is now selling, or not GameStop, Game Informer is now selling the magazine subscription separate from GameStop.
Oh, okay.
And it's like $20 for a year.
That's cool.
I actually might do it.
Yeah, because they stopped for a while, right?
They stopped. Well, so they stopped having the physical magazine be part of the subscription. It was just the digital subscription.
Okay, yeah.
So like that's why I haven't gotten Game Informer in a while.
But they might go back to physical and do it separately.
They are. Well, they are.
Okay.
It's a thing. They've announced it.
That's
and
cool.
So, like,
actually.
and I think one of the guys who used to work at Game Informer works at MinMax now. He kind of implied that this might be Game Informer's like last chance to stay in business.
Oh, absolutely.
So like definitely support this, and I'm definitely going to. Like it's literally less than $2 for every issue. It's like that's a great deal. Even if you're just reading it for like just for that, like the having it, you know what I mean, like the covers and the features. But anyways, I digress. This next one's really funny. So Tekken creator Katsuhiro Harada tweeted the other day, and he said, "Okay, I will only ask once about this request. Why do some communities send me requests to get Waffle House in Tekken?" And a lot of people answered. And he said, "Thanks for the explanation, guys, and I understand that many people are requesting it. However, I think you are missing one important point. The restaurant has both the trademark and the rights to the restaurant. So, if the chain's headquarters refuses to accept my proposal, it will not happen." But this sounds to me like he's going to try.
Yeah, it does.
And if you're Waffle House, how can you fucking not say yes?
Yeah.
To get Waffle House in Tekken?
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
This is amazing. This was one of my favorite headlines.
Do you think this is a new crossover for gaming instead of just characters?
Yeah, you like Alan Wake walks into a Taco Bell.
Yeah,
tries to order a chalupa. No, I
don't know the history behind this.
Waffle House?
Yeah, why Waffle House wants to be in, like, why the gaming?
So people want Waffle House because Waffle House is known for like fights. Like you go to Waffle House at 2 a.m.
Okay.
You're drunk. You get into a fight.
Yeah.
So it's like it would make sense to have a fighting game take place at a Waffle House.
That's hilarious.
It is, and it's even more hilarious that the creator of the game acknowledged it and said, "Okay, well."
I don't know if Waffle House is gonna do that. The message you're putting out there to put your location in a game.
Yeah, Forrest says put it as a level though, and I agree.
I agree, but
you gotta put Waffle House in Tekken 8.
Oh, I would.
So
love
Tekken
that.
8's on my like wish list. I haven't bought it. If you telling me that Waffle House is in it, like I believe in voting with my wallet. I will go buy Tekken 8.
We'll play it. In Waffle House.
In Waffle House. just to, like, you gotta do it.
Oh, that's great.
Look, in pop culture, and like, yeah, part of it's memes. In pop culture, sometimes lightning strikes. And you gotta capture that moment because you can't just create these things artificially. Like, it happens very authentically where it works. This is one of those moments where Waffle House has the opportunity to do the funniest thing. And it would be great for everyone involved.
I'm just glad they're trying. It sounds like they're
yeah, it sounds like the creator is going to try. He's like, they're going to probably say no, but I'll try.
Yeah, that's the best part about all this.
So we'll keep you updated on Waffle House coming to Tekken. And number 13 on the headlines, our final headline for the day, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth's Platinum Trophy is currently impossible for digital gamers. However, physical gamers, they don't have this issue. According to Kotaku, the bug sees a late-game side quest fail to register the appropriate score earned by the player, thus locking the player out of earning the Platinum Trophy. At the time of writing, the game won't recognize the score, meaning the goal of beating the Ultimate Party Animal's high score is impossible. Therefore, the Platinum is impossible. I just wanted to point this out. It's another win for the physical gamers who do not have to worry about this.
Yeah.
Because there is a workaround for them.
It turns out the final trophy was buying the game physically all along.
Hey, man. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
I'm loving Final Fantasy VII Rebirth still. Working my way through the game. I'm about 40 hours in now.
Nice.
I'm on vacation this week coming up, so I am expecting to sink more hours into it.
Think you'll beat it this week?
I don't know, just because I am, like, it is my vacation week, but I am making plans this week. Obviously, tomorrow's my birthday, and doing stuff all day tomorrow, and, we'll see what happens. But I am expecting some significant playtime, so. Always get physical. Hell yeah. I agree, Forrest. I agree. But yeah, so that's the headlines. Let's dive into what is a very slow game releases for the week of April 1st. It's 3 games. First up is Deceit 2, coming to PS5, Xbox Series consoles on April 3rd. Freedom Planet 2 comes to PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch on April 4th. And Turbo Golf Racing comes to PS5, Xbox Series, Xbox One, and PC on April 4th. So I had to do some research because I hadn't heard of any of these games.
Yeah, same.
So my game of the week this week is going to be Deceit 2. So this is the description of the game from the Xbox store. It says Deceit 2 is an online social deduction horror game. Inspire fear as the terror, play detective as the innocent, or create mayhem as the curse. Trapped with friends and strangers, who can you trust to help you escape? This sounds really cool.
Yeah, I actually want to see gameplay of that. That sounds cool.
I might look it up after the podcast,
Yeah,
to be
I
honest.
think I'm
We're going to look
to
it up.
too.
We're going to look it up. Because it sounds really cool. And it comes out next week, so that's my pick of the week.
My pick of the week is Turbo Golf Racing, just because it looks like Rocket League, but with golf, and it just looks fun.
It does kind of look like it does look like Rocket League with golf. It is. It
is Rocket League.
That is.
golf.
I'm watching it right now.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. Wow. Rocket League right now. They're just like Platonic. I think is the developer.
Yeah, they're smashing tables.
They're calling
Why
the
did they
layer.
think of
They're
this?
calling the lawyers. Like, what? How did this happen?
Every sport now. I want every sport.
Every sport is going to be cars playing the sport.
Yeah.
Queen's Blood. Yeah, Queen's Blood's amazing. I love Queen's Blood so much. I can't say enough. As time has gone on and I've gotten more cards and I've kind of built my deck up,
Yeah.
I love Queen's Blood so much.
I like the fact that you build your deck as you're playing the game and like.
Yeah, well, when you beat players, you get cards,
cards.
and then you can buy new packs as you go to like different like stores.
That's cool. I think.
So I'm really loving it. I'm loving my time with Final Fantasy Rebirth. On the side, I am still kind of playing Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection. I'm working on the 1,000 gamer score for that. I haven't really been trying the servers yet. I'm probably going to check back in with them this week to see how they're working. But I've been playing, just grinding out the achievements on that because you can do all of it single player. So having fun with it. For what it's worth, like it's still an amazing game. Like I love Battlefront 2, and I stand by. Like I'm playing it, and just when I make myself forget about the multiplayer not working, I'm just like, this is fun. It's just so much fun to play this game. But so yeah, that's what's going on in games this week. Again, hope everyone has a happy Easter. You know, be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed the podcast, you know, you can always catch us not live on the replay, and let us know in the comments below what your favorite Easter egg in gaming is, and also like what you think about the future of Xbox and what Phil's talking about and all that stuff. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much all I got. You got anything else you want to add, Dev?
Nope.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yep. Thank
Happy
you guys.
Easter to those who celebrate.
Catch you later.
Yeah, I guess that's it.
Yeah, that's it.